in fear, I had to change my belief. Even in fear, I had to move. I had to take a step. And it was so fucking hard to do it. It was so hard. There was a time in my life I was absolutely paralyzed with fear. So I know that, and I had to move anyway. So I know that other people have the same thing. And if I help one person take one step through this whole process of this journey that I'm on, then I'll consider that a success.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast. And today, my amazing guest is Jeff Luther. Hello, Jeff Luther.
How are you, Gary?
Living the dream, brother. I am living the dream. Always am. Where are you physically located?
Physically, I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. Well, Mount Pleasant. I'm right across the bridge from Charleston. So what about you? Where are you?
I didn't pick up the accent until you just said that.
Well, my accent is rural Georgia. Very, very rural Georgia.
Right on, right on. Well, listen, you've got a great story, so I want to jump in there. So, Jeff, I'm going to read your bio real quick. It's a great little intro, so everybody knows who we're playing with. So, guys, our guest today knows a thing or two about perseverance. After surviving sudden cardiac death and being given a life-altering diagnosis, he had to rebuild his life literally 30 seconds at a time. What started as a fight to take just a few steps turned into relentless commitment to pushing past limits, proving that resilience isn't about massive leaps, but about showing up day after day, no matter how hard it gets. Now, Jeff is inspiring others to do the same, whether in business, life, or fitness. So please welcome Jeff Luther. Right on, man. I mean, that's a great story. We both share kind of that weird cardiac thing at a young age, but we're going to jump into that. I want to hear your story, but because we're the What If You Could podcast, I got to ask you, Jeff Luther, what is your what if you could?
What if I could? Like, what if I could roll back time? What if I could cure heart disease? Is that the question? Is that how the question's framed?
It's however it hits you at the time. And if that's good, if that meant, if you ever thought to yourself, man, what if I could roll back time before shit hit the fan?
Yeah.
Could you? I mean, would you? How far back would you go? What would you roll back time to?
I don't know that. I don't know if that would be my answer. What if you could? What if you could? I mean, what if you could fly? What if it's such an? The question is so open, so many possibilities. What if I could reach an audience of 50,000 people? What if I could do that? I would probably tell my story of sudden cardiac death. I would probably encourage folks to be more vigilant about their health. And I would insist that people consider that connection is the ultimate success, not the measurement or the measuring stick of money or fame or things that you have. I would probably say, what if I could reach an audience of 50,000, 5,000, 10,000, a million people? If I could reach a massive audience, what if I could reach a massive audience? I would tell them that connecting with people is really what it's all about. And it took dying for me to understand that.
Don't you find that we are probably the most connected that we've ever been in the history of the world, yet we're the most alone and suffering from the most mental illness that we've probably ever suffered in the history of the world? Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah. Technically, I guess we are. We have the most potential for connection, for sure. The tools are there. I do not feel connected. The social connection, the social media, all that stuff. It doesn't make me feel connected at all. Sometimes it makes me feel a little empty. It makes me feel like an underperformer a lot of times. Yeah, that's fascinating. Like your comment. Yeah, it's so true. And it's very interesting.
Yeah. You were healthy when you had your cardiac arrest, and I was very healthy when I had mine. Um, how much stress was in your life at the time when you hit the wall?
Oh, dude, you go ahead and go get yourself a cup of coffee. Like my stress level was off the charts. I had a marriage that was unraveling. I just, and not just unraveling like in a traditional sense. I mean, there's a lot to that to unpack. We were just coming off of, like, literally just coming off of the whole COVID, the lockdown. I was traveling back and forth for a business. Our kids were struggling with homeschool. I was running a business, running a home, helping my kids go to school. I was the only one in the house that was really equipped to help with the education. So I had that. Then I decided that to escape all of that, I would bury myself in exercise and ultra marathons and punish myself in a way that I could control as opposed to a way that I couldn't. So my stress level, like the physical and the mental stress, was just off the chart, Gary.
Yeah. It's funny. I was super healthy. And when I had my cardiac arrest, I kept passing out and I just kept ignoring it, thinking, I don't know, stress, whatever. And when I finally got into the emergency, the doctor said, "You're an idiot. First of all, you're one of the freaking luckiest people I know because no one keeps having your heart stop for 10, 14 seconds at a time and live. But you had a blockage. Did you have a blockage or what did they find? What caused it for you? What did the doctors say when they looked at your heart?"
Well, yeah, mine's electrical. So I was diagnosed with ARVC, arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy. So it's the right ventricle dilates, gets bigger, and when I exercise, allegedly the muscle fiber as it tears, it gets infiltrated with fat and scar tissue. So it creates a bad electrical signal.
Did they That's what mine too. Mine, I didn't have any blockages, I didn't have any issues. They found a weird bent artery. The dude's like, "Your artery's bent." I go,
Huh.
"Is there plaque? Is it clogged?" He goes, "You don't have any plaque in your heart at all. Your heart's perfectly healthy. But your wife, your what do you call it? The one that takes your life. What do they call it? The widowmaker is
Oh,
bent." Yeah, and he goes, "So we're gonna stent it and then give you a pacemaker because obviously your heart keeps stopping." What did they
yeah.
do for you? What did they give you to get you here where you are today?
They gave me, one, nothing. They prescribed medicine. I haven't taken any medication since that day. But I do have a defibrillator implanted, a subcutaneous internal cardio defibrillator. So I've got a defibrillator that shocks my heart. I just got my first shock the other day, actually, last Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got the defibrillator that when my heart goes into bad rhythm or gets out of line, it shocks it back to normal.
It's crazy how we do that to ourselves, right? I mean, you work so hard to be healthy, obviously. If you could do all that training, you could do the CrossFit, you could do the ultra marathons, you could do all that stuff. You're obviously extremely healthy, right? And you're fit.
Yeah.
Yet we let our mind shut down what we've done, all the good work we've done, and then we go and let this thing take it all down, right? It's bizarre how we did that. Why did we do that? Why did we, with all the shit you were going through, obviously that this is crazy stress, right? And I was going through some very similar stuff. But why did we let it almost kill us?
It's a great question, and I have a kind of a theory, not a theory, but I can tell you it's created a lot of empathy. I now have empathy around it. But I was angry for so long. Like I would look at my marriage, I was like, I did everything right in my marriage. I did what I was supposed to do. I produced an amazing income. I was an over the top father, good husband. I did what I was supposed to do, and it still fell apart. I did what I was supposed to do with my heart. Everything they tell you to do, I did it times 10. I took care of myself. I ate right. I don't indulge in the things that are unhealthy. And my heart still failed me. And with my diagnosis, I was told that not to exercise. Exercise induces my condition. Obviously, with the heart, when the fibers tear, it's infiltrated with fat and scar tissue, so it makes it worse. But I chose to continue exercising anyway. Uh, 2 years after my diagnosis, and when it happened in front of my 16-year-old son. We were doing a partnered workout together. Um, and I was told I could never exercise. Well, I did a CrossFit competition with that same kid 2 years later. Um, Not supposed to, but it gave me empathy. Now I have more understanding for the diabetic that continues to eat sweets. Now I have more understanding of the smoker that can't put down cigarettes, although we know that it hurts us. It becomes part of our identity. It's almost a sickness, so I get it. So I don't know, but I didn't know that I really didn't know that I was hurting myself. I knew that I had stress, and I thought I was managing it great by punishing myself with the exercise as opposed to actually going head into the stress.
Yeah. Isn't it bizarre? When you think it's like when you think you're angry and I don't know, we must be brothers from another mother. I must have been living inside your head because everything you're saying is exactly what I went through. And the anger. So I did what you did. I pushed myself working out, working out, working out. My diet is super clean. It was super clean. Didn't smoke, didn't drink, did all the right stuff, just like you said, right? So when I went to see my cardiologist, after, a couple weeks after all the procedures and stuff, I said, "Doc, what's going on?" You said my heart's super healthy. There's no plaque. Everything's fine. I'm obviously very fit. He said, "You almost died of a broken heart." He said, "That valve in your heart that we had to fix is your emotional valve." He goes, "Whatever the hell's going on in your life and your brain, you really need to stop it or you're just going to die again because you died. You're gonna, but we saved you, right?"
Yeah.
And I thought, anger and grief and stress, it's all bullshit, right? I mean, what you were going through wasn't bullshit. It was actual life stuff. But it's not enough to let us kill ourselves, right?
No. And I'll tell you this, there were times when I was going through all that shit, and it continued after my diagnosis. After the surgery, then I was told I couldn't exercise, so then I had no way to process stuff. So I was really in it, and you might be able to relate to this, but I remember I was walking on the beach one day, and a couple was walking towards me holding hands, and I looked at him, I was like, "You know what? How dare you? How dare you be out here in public holding hands and happy? Do you have any idea the pain that I'm in?" And the same thing. I was downtown and going to a restaurant, so people were standing outside laughing and carrying on. And I thought, how dare you? How dare you stand out here and laugh and enjoy life when I'm in the pain that I'm in? So to your point, yeah, all that stuff, it's bullshit. It's BS. It's our belief system, right? What we believe. And they were in the same place I was, getting the same sun, getting the same energy, getting the same whatever you could the list goes on, but they chose. They chose to smile. They chose to hold hands. I chose to be unhappy.
Yeah. Why do we keep it in? I'm horrible. People go, "Oh, dude, you got so many friends. You got all these friends." I go, "Dude, I don't have any friends. I've got like four, right, that I've had since high school, right? The same four friends from high school, and a husband and a wife and another husband and wife. Those couples and my past wife, who was part of it when the grief from her passing, but they're my friends, right? And I didn't even let them know. I didn't let them know when I got cancer. I didn't let them know when I have this heart thing. And they were so pissed off, like, "You're such an asshole." We would have driven
Yeah.
into town and done something, right? But why didn't you call us? Why didn't you call and say, "Bro, I'm dying. I'm hurting so bad. I got to talk to somebody." I'm working out. I'm doing this. I'm trying to relieve the stress somehow, but it's killing me and almost killed both of us, right? Why, why don't we, Jeff? Were you reaching out? Were you talking to anybody about what was going on with you?
No. A couple of people knew, like, the I had the divorce going on, so a couple of people knew about that, but I never talked about the burden of it. But my short answer, and I'll go into a little more detail, but my short answer to that question is just like you said, they would have driven into town. Well, I don't want anyone doing that. I don't want to be a burden. You've got your own shit you're dragging around, and and I don't want anyone to think I'm a pussy, right? So there's that piece of it. Then I'm too weak to deal with my own shit. But I'll tell you this, and this is like, I'm going to use the expression, this is serious as a heart attack. Um, and so life got long for me for a little while. But in 2023, this was about a year and a half later, I went through a real struggle with my business. And it was a real struggle with my business. Financially, I got in a bad place. My business was in a bad place. The real estate market was in a bad place. It's just everything unraveled all at once. And I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no hope. And that's a very dangerous place to be. And I still have a journal entry, and my journal entry starts out with, now I know why people commit suicide. And it's because you don't want to bother anyone. When you do reach out, I reached out to a couple of people. There was no, if I text you at 4 o'clock in the morning and say, "Hey, as soon as you wake up, I need to talk to you," it's urgent. It's urgent. Um,
Yeah.
and I had one friend that called me at like 6:30, and we talked for a little bit, but when I was in it, there was no urgency from people. And you can't say, "Hey, I'm in a deep, dark, miserable place and I need your help." You just kind of reach out on the surface. So to say that you and I didn't reach out might not entirely be true. Maybe we did in our own way, and you leave it up to people to kind of help you navigate that path. I just talked in a big circle. I hope I answered your question. I'm not entirely sure that I did.
There isn't an answer to that question
Yeah.
because it's a personal reflection. There's no answer to it. And anybody who's been down that rabbit hole of that darkness knows exactly what you're talking about. There's a place down in there. I don't know if that's what hell is. I don't really know where it is, but there's a place that's so dark that you actually have those thoughts. Like, it would just be easier if I wasn't frickin' here. This would just be so much better if I was just out of here. I'd be out of the pain. I wouldn't be a burden for anybody. I wouldn't have all these worries, right? I mean, that's a real place, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. But also, I'll add to that, there's Will Storr. And I just look as the book is behind me. Will Storr, the book, The Science of Storytelling. In his book, he talks about that suicidal ideology, and it's more prominent in men. Humans by nature are problem solvers. So the brain wants to solve problems, and men more so than women. That's why that disconnect. But in that book, he says you get to a place where you don't have hope. And if you can't see the solution to the problem, then there's no hope. And then you become hopeless. And that's how you get to that deep, dark place, is that hopelessness.
Yeah. And when you're fighting it on so many fronts, it's like the marriage, the business, the money, my kids, the world, um, everything's just going to shit at the same time, and you're
Yeah.
grasping. It's like, if I could just like fix one of these freaking things, maybe I could get a handle. And I used to tell people, it's like, I don't, I stopped drinking just for health reasons. I had no problem with drinking, but back when I was a kid, back in high school, and you'd get hammered drunk, and you
Right.
lay on the bed, and the bed is spinning, right? You figure, if I put my leg off the side of the bed, maybe the bed will stop spinning. But
Yeah.
that's that feeling that I was in. It's like, I can't stop this spinning. There's too many things I'm trying to control here, and there might be help out there. I mean, maybe I could reach out to a friend or a counselor or my current wife, my new wife, but none of that was there for me. I didn't feel anyone or anything was there for me, so I couldn't seem to stop it all, and I think that's that
Yeah.
hopelessness thing is like, God, I just have to get control of something, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And for any, like, if any of your listeners that are hearing this conversation, it's funny because I had no idea this conversation would go this way. But for any of your listeners that are hearing this and identifying with it, yeah, how do I stop the spin? Where do I go? Who do I talk to? I will say that 988, that's a suicide hotline for those that don't want to burden someone or for those that feel like that, other people have their own bullshit to deal with. 988, those people go to work every day that want to hear and help. They want to hear your problems. They want to help you. They want you to get those things out loud. They want to help you find a path. All of those things. That's what those people go to work for. That's why they get up in the morning. They want that. They go to work expecting it. So yeah, we don't want to burden our friends. We don't want to burden our wives, our partners, our kids. We don't want to put that on people. We also don't want them to worry. Um, but that hotline is way different.
That's awesome to know. That's awesome to have. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
And the thing about the kids, I don't know about your kids. I know you had a 16-year-old son that you're working out with. I have two boys who are now 32 and 30, and they're my best friends in the entire world. They're like my absolute best friends. Um, and I didn't even tell them. Like you said, there's something about worry that
Yeah.
you just don't want to share that with them. I mean, they lost their mom to cancer. I didn't tell them I had cancer for like 6 months because I didn't want them
Wow.
worried. I wanted to get through it and have a grip on, all right, what do I have? What's my prognosis? What's my outlet? What I need to come to them with something positive. I can't say, hey, your dad's where your mom was, right? And obviously
Yeah.
I'm still here. But you're doing work also, though. I mean, you've taken this incident now and you're spreading the gospel. You're spreading the good word, right? Tell us what you're doing now. What's the shift that happened to you, like it happens to a lot of us when they're laying in that hospital going, dude, I frickin' literally was gone.
Yeah.
And now you're not. And like I
Yeah.
said to myself, I'll let you answer. I'm sorry I asked you a question and cut you off, but I was laying there, and for the first time in my life, the cancer didn't even do this to me, but this made me sit there and go, I am here for something. God, the universe, spirit, whatever. Somebody, I'm here for a reason because am not supposed to be. Right. So,
Yeah.
what did you come out of that with? What are you doing now with that?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take liberty with the question. First, I'm going to go back to your cancer diagnosis. When you were diagnosed, you said, I want something that I can take back to my kids before I tell them. So you waited 6 months. If anybody's listening to that, I'm going to give you the opposite side of that. So you get diagnosed with cancer, and then that good news or that prognosis or whatever that you can go back to them with doesn't show up, then it's different where they could be upset with you that no, we could have spent 6 more months with you. We could have done it different. I could have quit my job. I could have liquidated. I could have done whatever. So that 6 months might have been lost. Just a different play. And I only say that because I learned so much just like you have, obviously, in the, I don't know, the luck of dying. Um, but to answer your original question, for me, it was people people don't care what happens to you. And I don't mean that ugly. I don't mean like people don't care. But what do they say? Well, that Gary got cancer and he gave up. Well, that Gary got cancer and he worked through it. Well, that Gary, he had a heart attack and he now doesn't do anything. Well, that Gary had a heart attack, but it hasn't stopped him. There's always a follow of what I'm at because they don't care what happens to you. They can't get there emotionally. They can't find where you are, but they sure as hell know what you did after. And that's what I realized when I got my diagnosis. My kids were watching and they were 16, 14, and 12 at the time, three boys. they were watching and they wanted to know how I was going to respond. And that was my driver. And even in fear, I had to change my belief. Even in fear, I had to move. I had to take a step. Um, and it was so fucking hard to do it. It was so hard. There was a time in my life I was absolutely paralyzed with fear. So I know that and I had to move anyway. So I know that other people have the same thing. And if I help one person take one step through this whole process of this journey that I'm on, then I'll consider that a success.
So what are you doing with it? What did you take from this? What are you doing? Because you're in the real estate business as your profession?
Yeah, home inspection. I own a home inspection company.
Oh, we love you guys. Well, some of us love you guys. I'm a real
Yeah,
estate broker, 35 years. We have a property management company and with my son and a real estate. So I don't know why people get mad at inspectors when they find stuff and it blows the deal. It's like, dude, thank God he found it. What if your clients
yeah,
moved in and this whole thing went to shit? They'd be pissed at you,
yeah. We get it. We get it on both sides, right?
right?
Um, so, I own a home inspection company, but I started this podcast as part of that, and then the more I talked about my personal stuff, it was like one day I talked about I had to lay people off, and I went into the personal experience and what it meant to me and what it did to me, and my downloads were like quadruple one day. And then the next time I talked to, I had a girl that worked with us that got cancer. She was diagnosed stage 4. And as I started to get into personal stories, my people started messaging me and they started thanking me. And I talked about my heart issue and how I felt when I got back to working out, and people would send me questions, and it just kind of morphed on its own. It was not intentional.
I want to go back to that fear for a little bit because there's a weird thing about the fear. It's like so much fear got us into this mess. And then, like with the cancer, I call it scanxiety. Every time you have to
Yeah.
go in for another scan for the first 5 years, every 6 months, you get a scan, right? And then the dude looks at it. The doctor looks at it. It's like, why do you have to wait a week to call me to tell me what happened
Yeah.
with the scan? You're there, right? Why don't you just freaking tell me right now? And the same thing, you probably go through it too. I know, go through it with my this pacemaker and stent and stuff. Like any little thing, I'm like I take my blood pressure like 8 times a day, and I'm like doing all this stuff. It's like that fear of, is it coming back? Will it happen again? What do I do to keep it away? Isn't that that living with that fear? Do you have that, or you somehow are able to overrun that?
I have it, but a couple of things that I do. One, the heart's gonna do what the heart's gonna do. I know that. I know that to be true. So I look at the heart like its own eating, sleeping, breathing thing. The heart is going to do what it's going to do. We don't communicate. It's not gonna tell me. It is what it is. And then I also have a new saying where I am right where I'm supposed to be. Whatever that means, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And you can use that in so many ways. Like people get out over their skis, trying to be to the next episode, trying to find the next I'm supposed to be at work. I should have done this. I should have done. You know what? I'm just right where I'm supposed to be. That's it.
What a great thought. And it's true, and I wish I had a thought that way before I put myself through all this stuff. I know the cancer, I gave it to myself with stress and grief and fear and different emotional things. I let my immune system get damaged by the stress, and everyone has cancer in you. It just depends whether it kicks in or not. And so the same thing with the heart. And so I was sitting there and laying in the hospital after the procedure going, dude, if you're gonna hang around, you might as well stop this craziness, right? You might as well, let's find your special purpose. Let's stop this madness that you're doing to yourself. Stop
Yeah.
this. Why are you killing yourself over stuff that just honestly doesn't matter, right?
Easier said than done.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So what are you doing to keep that away? What are you doing to keep that demon away? But besides your mantra of, I am where I'm supposed to be. I mean, how are you fighting through this now?
I mean, that's it. Yeah, that's really it. It's a mental battle. Control the controllables,
Yeah,
really.
yeah. Again, easier said than done, but that's
Yeah,
for
for
sure. So
sure.
so
Yeah.
you look healthy, you're working out. Are you still doing the property inspection stuff?
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's my business. It runs itself. The company runs itself for the most part. I still have it. And I've been I do executive coaching, personal coaching, that kind of stuff. And um, the the inspection business is almost kind of flipped to now that's a side gig, side hustle, so to speak.
I think that's awesome, and that's how business is, right? Because they say if you're in your business every day and you're without you, it doesn't work. You're not a business owner, you're an employee, right? So once you can move from employee to business owner, that's a much better feeling. But Jeff, you're awesome. I love your story. Um, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you made it through. And I'm glad that your sons have seen you overcome this. That will help them throughout their life to say, yeah, if dad could kick this ass, I could do anything. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, same to you, brother. It's the same. And what I like to say and what I like to feel and what I like to believe when I get to meet people like you, like I'm lucky I got to meet you. And I mean that. Like I'm lucky I got to meet you, but I'm lucky that I'm here to be able to meet you. Um, it's just it's so nice to meet really great people, and connection is my thing. Like I am convinced that connection is the ultimate success. For sure.
I love that. And, I tell people when people say I'm happy to be here, I'm saying, dude, I'm happy to be anywhere
Yeah.
because I wasn't
Yeah, you just
gonna.
look at me like you got no idea.
No, yeah, no idea, brother. Um, Jeff, I appreciate your time, but I have to ask you one more question. I always end the podcast with one last question. I said I had the first "what if you could" question, but I lied. I'm a real estate broker. We lie. Um, I, I have two. My second question, my last question is, um, what's a thought that you would like to leave everybody with? I mean, something that means something to you, maybe that you've learned just over what you've gone through or just in life, whatever. What would be a last thought that you'd like to leave everybody with before we get out of here?
So it's going to be two. It would be nothing happens. Nothing happens until you take action, right? Like you can dream it,
Yeah.
you can think about it. Nothing happens until you take action. So take action. And then the second thought that kind of parallels with that is take a step. Take a step. I promise you, the ground will find you. Now it might find you on your face, it might find you on your back, it might find that it's a smooth step, but take a step. The ground will find you. You are not going to fall forever. And you'll get up and you'll figure it out. Take a step. Nothing happens to you until you take action. So take a step.
I love that. I love that. I don't remember who said it, but I've listened to so many Earl Nightingales and Napoleon Hills, and
Yeah.
just all the great ones, right? And someone said, don't be the guy sitting there saying to the fireplace, if you give me heat, I'll give you wood.
Right. Yeah.
Right? It just doesn't work that way. You have to take an action. And I think we both would agree we would never want anyone to go through what we went through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it does kind of
Who
clarify things. I used to tell my boys, I never whacked my boys, but I always told them, if you keep up this shit, I'm going to whack you because there's one thing I know for sure. Pain clarifies things, right? Pain
Yeah.
sharpens your focus. So,
Yeah.
like when you're working out, when you're doing CrossFit or you're doing these ultra marathons and stuff like that, there's a certain level of pain that will focus you, right?
Yeah. That no doubt about that.
Well, Jeff, you're awesome. I promise I'd get you out of here. You've already had a long day all the way from South Carolina. So grateful for you. But before we get out of here, where can people find more, Jeff, where can we find you? Where can we look at your stuff? Where can we follow you, listen to you, the whole kit and caboodle?
You get jeffluther.com. I'm on my website. I've got two Instagram handles, JDLuther 2.0. That's like my personal antics and workouts. All can, no can't on Instagram. And that's also the podcast. And my coach has challenged me. I told him I would have 50 powerful conversations by the end of the year. So if you want a total complimentary conversation, work through an issue, just have an ear, somebody to listen to, you can find me there, and we'll sit down and chat for an hour. So those places.
So if we want to have this chat with you so you can get your 50, is
Yeah,
that jeffluther.com? Is that the best place to find you for that?
that's the best place. Yeah, it's the easiest place.
All right, everybody.
Message me on LinkedIn, message me on Instagram, anything. I'll respond.
Well, we've got no excuses now, you guys. If you need to reach out to somebody and somebody who's been through the shit in a lot of different ways and somehow lived to tell about it for some odd reason, you got to reach out to Jeff Luther. He's a good guy. He's got a good message. He's got a big heart that's actually still working, and and he's there to help you, right, Jeff?
Yes, sir. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, makes one to
100%.
know
All right,
one,
guys.
buddy.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I was here to talk to you, and I wish you continued health and success. I really do. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, man, I'm lucky I got to meet you. You're alive, I'm alive, and it's nice when two good folks get to connect.
It's a good thing, man. Life is good, guys. Keep at it. I'm telling you, it's better than the alternative. All right, everybody. I'll see you next time. Thank you. See ya.
Thanks, Gary.